This video that you're watching is about a secret private letter that Donna Clement Petruska, this would be Kim Clement's eldest daughter, found while going through some of Kim Clement's things. Kim Clement, who is best known today for prophesying the election of Donald Trump. He died just a few days after watching what is commonly known as his largest prophecy. And it wasn't actually his largest prophecy, but what is known as his largest prophecy come to fruition. I would note also for the record that Donald Trump, that prophecy is kind of a big deal, because while the entire world laughed, most of your medias were laughing, even the Republican ones. Man, Trump is even running for president. Kim Clement had very bold prophecies, going back even to 2014 all the way back to 2007, that Donald Trump would be president of the United States.
My dad prophesied 9/11 from Dearborn, Michigan in 1996. Now, on February 21st, 2015, almost a year to the day after the 2014 prophecy, where God showed my dad so much, including the cries for impeachment, my dad said this about Rudy Giuliani. And during that time, great prophets shall arise from the earth, and they shall stand and reveal. These are not prophets that are necessarily in the religious organizations, but prophets like I chose, Netanyahu, Rudy Giuliani. Oh, you may mock him, but I made him a watchman in this country.
She found a letter. This dated June 16th of 2015. Now, to put that in perspective, the date of this letter that she found while going through private things of her dad, going through old emails of her dad. This letter was penned one day, or the very day, but I believe one day before Donald Trump officially announced his run for president. That's when this letter was penned by the prophet that's best known for prophesying the election of Donald Trump. Now, he also prophesied the election of Barack Obama, which I'm sure was a shock to Hillary. He predicted, of course, he prophesied, of course, the election of the Clintons beating Bush Sr., and of course, he prophesied 9/11. We prophesied streams of things. But this letter was penned one day before Trump announced his public run for president of the United States. This letter was also penned one day before Kim Clement had been invited to come speak to Trump. Presumably, Trump was wanting to know what the top prophet in the world thought about him running for president. That's the presumption of the invitation, to meet him at Trump Towers. Kim Clement could not make it. He got sick. These are the moments when he got sick. This letter was also penned one day before the grainy phone call. I'm going to go through a list of things about this letter she found, and she's going to read off the portions of the letter that she publicly can, on our own YouTube channel, Donna Clement Petruska, or House of Destiny. I'll put links in the bottom. This letter was one day before the grainy phone call where Kim Clement is going to go see Donald Trump and then can't make it because he got sick. Here's that grainy phone call that is one day after the penning of this secret private letter that Donna found about a week ago. Here's the tape.
Greetings, everyone. So interesting to be a prophet, but honestly, when you see what's unfolding, I'm standing on the airport right now, about to leave for New York, and I must tell you, it's just amazing what's unfolding already. God told me to go to New York, and I shared, of course, before that when the Spirit of God leads you, even as Paul was led, sometimes it's not very clear. But the dates changed slightly for New York, and just before I left, I said to my team, I need to meet with some leaders, and specifically felt that I should meet with Donald Trump. We're about to leave now.
I know what you're thinking. It can get deep. What a trip, right? He never did actually make it to go see Donald Trump. He dearly, dearly wanted to. He never personally made it to get to Trump. Now, he did send on his band. Trump was fully aware that Kim got sick. He did send on his behalf a man named Lance, a very good man named Lance, a man that he had go to conventions with him for years, a man that was an usher that Kim had met at a small church, I'm not sure where, that tried to learn, still tries to do, or does maybe, prophetic things. Kim had sent Lance to go and speak to Trump on his behalf. To the best of my knowledge, the best of all of my knowledge, this letter that we're talking about here never went with Lance, never went with anyone else. But Donna has it, and there are things, I tell you, there are portions. I'm going to get into these things up here in a second. She's going to release the portions of the letter that she can and other things that she found. Kim had a lot of thoughts for Donald Trump, and these are good, well, you know, there's a lot that goes with being president of the United States, but there were uplifting things, and there were prophetic things. Almost like what the Lord was stating is that a prophet writing to a president, but more than that, writing to a man, Donald J. Trump in this case, somebody that the Lord really wanted to show unusual things to that most men of earth will never experience. In a physical sense and a spiritual sense. The spiritual part's coming. Portions of according to these things, portions even of the public prophecies of Kim Clement dealt with, he was not sending you a religious president. He was sending one that the world would buck, that the medias would buck. I will fool the people, I will fool the people. But that this man that went in would become a praying president. As I make this video now, the National Day of Prayer has been moved forward for the coronavirus. This was done by Donald Trump, who looks on all of the, I can tell you, this is a guy that's been fighting for you. You can see it on him as you look at the clips of him with, man, Democrat or Republican alike, work with your president. This is a man that loves your country, even if you disagree with him on some policies. I want to take a look at some elements of this. Number one, these are elements from a letter that was penned on the very day. On the very day. So Kim was up. It was clear that this was the heaviest thing on his heart, were things about Donald Trump. In the letter, you will be president at the time that you get this letter. Now, it doesn't start with that. The letter doesn't start with that language. But the function of what you're reading through these documents is how a prophet would write to a highly honored president by God himself. Number two, and this is the one that gave me shivers up and down me. You, Donald J. Trump, are to be called Joseph. I want to return to that point in just a moment, because that one gave me shivers for reasons I'm going to go ahead and share in this video. But point three, and these were some things, I'm not sure if they're in the particular letter that Donna found, but certainly in a haze of other documents, prophetic things that Kim was writing that point out that Rudy Giuliani, as funny as it sounds, but this is how precise this stuff is. Rudy Giuliani will be very important to the President of the United States. Here's a clip on that.
These are not prophets that are necessarily in the religious organizations, but prophets like I chose, Netanyahu, Rudy Giuliani. Oh, you may mock him, but I made him a watchman in this country. I recently posted a video containing all of these prophecies on my personal YouTube channel, and it was immediately censored and deemed inappropriate. If you want to see it, search for my page, Donna Clement Petrushka, on YouTube, and watch it.
And I didn't include that clip just to be controversial. I included that, to be very frank with you, a special thank you to each and every one of you that watch any of my videos, that watch any of Donna's videos, that watch any of friends of mine like Tally McCarter's video. There's an awful lot of us that feel strongly like it is getting harder and harder and harder to express a message, even if it's a clean message and even if it's a message that has something powerful in it, maybe even particularly if there's something powerful in it to share. I want to thank all of you that subscribe to my things and that hit that bell button that's on there. That may be the only way many of these things are watchable. I'm going to put a link to Donna's channel, both of them, in the bottom of this video. I'm not done yet in terms of what to tell you about these letters coming out, so stick with me. But I thank you for sharing. If you find these things are worthy of sharing, even a little bit, I thank you for clicking that share button on your Facebook page, on your news article page, on your Christian website, on your Democrat, liberal website, even if you're making fun of it. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. If these topics are worthy, in your view, of discussion. One of the areas that the Republicans could actually do better on, that the Democrats often are champions for, so I hear from them, is freedom of speech, even if we don't like all the time what each other says. I very much support the Democrats in freedom of speech. Donna will be releasing what she can. She can't obviously release everything if it's got private stuff in there. But the things that she can concerning these new materials of her father, what she can read off, on March 21st of 2020. She'll be releasing them on our YouTube channels. You have both links in the bottom of this particular video. I would know for the record that in many conversations with Donna, these things heavily talk. I tell you, there's a lot of private stuff. And I'm praying that Donna and others, maybe my hat can be thrown in there as well. I would never push for such a thing. But it would certainly be an honor to meet with the President of the United States, and there's certainly no shortage of things that could be effectively and meticulously discussed. No matter what the case, we're all praying for you on this side of the screen. Joseph, period. Joseph stated in these letters, when Donna called me on the phone, the reason why I pulled the car over to the side of the road, I got shivers so bad, when she told me these letters dealt with God calls you Joseph, Donald Trump. Now, this is particularly going to affect you if you've been watching my videos for a lot of years. You know this is not a new term for me. My second story on this is going to be more powerful than the first one. Let me go over two things on that particular deal. I'm going to show you, and I'm not just holding this up to try and sell you something. Listen to this, I wouldn't dare cheapen this part of what I'm talking about like that. But I do want to talk to you about it because it fits into the equation. When I went to Egypt with my friend Mike Hughes, who's been in my videos for years, and no, this is not the Flat Earth Mike Hughes. This is a man that's made a lot of products over the years, mainly for trailers and U-Haul and this kind of a thing, and has supported biblical projects, biblical discoveries by people like Ron Wyatt. And it's one of the major ways I got linked up with him. He made this coin. I didn't ask him to make this. I didn't even give him the coin. In fact, I've got a Joseph conspiracy thing by him that I will probably put up on the God in the Nutshell. We're working out what we're going to do with it. He made a full-length video of things that came from Egypt that I really liked. But this was called a Joseph coin. A Joseph coin. And you'll notice that on the front of the Joseph coin, you've got Imhotep. Just like you'll find articles, and again, Mike was unfamiliar to the best of my knowledge. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But I don't think he knew anything about Ben Carson. I don't think he knew about the articles about Ben Carson. Because on one occasion, I explained to him, in the context of these coins, Ben Carson, you're going to find lots of articles calling Ben Carson a conspiracy theorist for believing that Imhotep, the architect of the pyramid, the step pyramid of Egypt, that Ron Wyatt believed was a grain storage facility. I've been to that location with Mike. Did he put Imhotep on the front of that coin and put Joseph's name on there and put the grain storage facilities of Joseph on the back of the coin? Ben Carson, by the way, is one of the most talented neurosurgeons in the world. Anyhow, Ben, you say you believe the Egyptian Imhotep was the biblical Joseph? Well, that grain storage facility certainly looks that way to me. Here at God in the Nutshell, we believe you. Don't worry about those hardcore left articles. You tell these people you're planning to eat lunch tomorrow, and they call it a conspiracy. There's Mike right there with me next to pyramids. It was last year, and we were doing filming on the Exodus. Portion of another articles that I've read that get heavily fought against, stating you have Christians, including what looks like Donald Trump, asking for there's not a lot of biblical literacy. Look, Some things are just the history of our world because the sites are actually just out there. It's like arguing there's not a pyramid in that shot. It's like arguing, it's like some of this stuff you read, arguing that those aren't even pyramids that are real out there. I mean, it's that absurd. Some things are just history, and the less people know about history, the less prepared they are for the future. I'm a big believer in the future. Kim Clement was a believer. He was a believer in something larger than the future. He was a man that just loved the Spirit of the Lord. Here's the second story. This one I held back for a lot of years, but I think I'm going to tell it right now in this video. Kim Clement was from South Africa, more specifically Port Elizabeth, South Africa. These shots behind me, where I'm sitting right there, are from South Africa. I was there for my own set of reasons in this instance. But I'll tell you, this is a country not doing particularly well. And they'll try to turn this into a white-black thing, but that's not what it is at all, in my view. I've actually been there. This is a country in trouble. So they went with hardcore, what I would call hardcore socialist views. Democrats, thank you for removing Bernie from the race. He's not a Democrat. He's an independent, if anything. At least you went with someone that shares some Democrat views. And not all Democrats are against the Bible. Not all Democrats are. In fact, Lord, some of the people I go to for prayer are Democrats. They have these political views over here. But if I want prayer, I know people that have the Spirit of the Lord coming through them. And they're not all Republicans. Not even all the people that help me with my stuff. Some of them are hardcore Democrats. So when I see the news articles stating that you would be a crazy conspiracy coot to believe, some things are just real, guys. I would have bare minimum, if not for me, at least for your base. Some of these people believe heavily. Some of the best prayer warriors I know are Democrats. Kim Clement was from South Africa. South Africa. When I was 16 years old, I went with my mother on a cruise ship to the Bahamas. And she was very excited to go because she was very, very familiar with Kim Clement at that time. And so in the evenings, they would do these meetings. It had several hundred people in the meetings, maybe a few more. And Kim would do largely what you see a lot of at the end of his life. He would do a lot of music. The Spirit of the Lord would flow. He would give prophecies about world events, these kind of things. I think he had been backing away from what people used to call personal prophecies because people would push him for things. As I would later learn in getting to know that family, first of all, he didn't want it to look like a crystal ball or something. If the Lord had a word for someone, he would give it. He would give it. But you'd have people just surround because they want a prophecy, and they want a prophecy the way they want the prophecy, which isn't the way prophecy works. A real prophet of the Lord might give you good news or bad news. Anyhow, Kim didn't call many people up at all. He called 3 people up, and one was a couple. And the other person, I was trying to leave the room. I was a rebellious punk kid, and I was more interested in other things on the cruise ship, probably. But I remember it always stuck with me for my entire life. I was trying to leave the room, and just like other stories I've heard from Kim Clement, where he called, "Hey, you and the come up here to the back." And I had long hair at the time and all that. I mean, I was truly kind of a punk kid. But he called me up, and there was a spirit about Kim, similar to the spirit of, man, there are quite a few people I've had the honor to know and know now that are, Mark and Donna Harrelson would be a couple like this, that the government always puts on, or used to put always on projects overseas, because at embassies and things, because the Spirit of the Lord would protect, they would have 0 injuries. Whereas you had all sorts of bad things happen, but not while Mark was there. And you could feel a spirit around him. Same thing with Kim Clement. And Donna, by the way, saved my life one night with a prophecy. This is really new to me. I'll stick to this one story. So he called me up to the front, and I'm not going to tell you everything that he said. I'm just going to tell you how it started. I want you to bear in mind the elements of this letter here, particularly the second element of this letter here. They had me pull the car over, basically nearly in tears, when she was reading it to me a week ago. The way Kim's prophecy to me started, that one day you will tell people about the Lord. And when I say tell people, I mean millions of people will hear the Lord through you. And it will be at the time of the Joseph period. I'm not going to go on into what other things he said. I'm going to hold that back. I held that prophecy in my pocket for a year. I believed it. I believed it. And I was just a punk kid at that time. So in just those portions of that prophecy, and this is a prophecy that certainly everyone in my family has known, particularly my closer, well, even extended family. But in terms of, through the screens, I'm actually sort of careful in private what I state. There's a lot of people around me that are prophetic in this, things I'll hear that you can't always share. And private things I like to keep private. But I felt, long story short, I felt like in the context of this video and that letter that Donna has just found from her dad, talking about a Joseph, talking about Trump in the context of Joseph, it struck me beyond belief. And I was never a political guy. Before I did that one Trump video, in fact, for bulks of my life, I supported largely Democrat things, to be very honest. The Democrat Party has gone a very strange direction. And this video was made based, I hadn't thought about Kim Clement in years when I made this video. It was like the Lord brought it to my attention suddenly. And this one grainy tape that talked about Donald Trump. That's all I had. That and some passages from 2 Timothy that told me Hillary cannot win. From 2 Timothy. An old grainy prophecy from Kim Clement that suddenly came to my mind. It would be at the time of the Joseph period. So when Donna read me the letter concerning Trump and God calling Trump a Joseph, it struck me. I watch the news constantly. They want to persecute the living gazoo out of Trump's friend, Roger Stone, and in truth, it's because it's Trump's friend, right? I want to throw a man in prison for years and years and years for doing nothing. I guess the allegation is he was involved in the crowds or knew about the crowds that released some of the emails on Hillary. I'd like to take 1 second to notate right here on our impeachment prophecy video that we put up. This is another one that, even if you type my name in with the title of the video, is strangely, I'll put links to it below so you can go look at it. Even if you're a Democrat, some portions of it are probably going to knock your socks off. But I got one thing wrong, well, at least one thing wrong in this video. But one thing I know that I got very wrong in this video, because I was up, I was doing editing, it was about 3 in the morning, and there was some parts concerning dates. So 7 years from the date of one of the videos where Kim is talking about, and he will take a simple stone, remember the name, this ties to Roger Stone. I make some speculations in that section of the video. You can watch it again. There's powerful stuff in there. Oliver Stone, people like this. But obviously, there's no way to run from the fact that you got things revolving around Roger Stone. I'd like to correct in this that my math came out wrong at 3 in the morning. It would have been 6 years that I did the math for on that. If you take it forward to 7 years, you're into the second year, the second term of Trump, which of course is prophesied by Kim Clement very specifically, 2 terms. And I would note that the end of that video is talking largely about Biden, who, man, I thought it was, there were moments I thought, well, it's going to end up being Bloomberg, it's going to end up being, maybe it'll be Bernie Sanders. But certainly this Bloomberg character came right out of the blue, and he was a big dud. A big billionaire, kind of poof, thin air. And now they're left with Biden. I don't think there's any confusion about the fact that Trump's getting 2 terms, even amongst the Democrats at this point. I think God's making that clear for his own sets of reasons. Donna is about to lay out some good things, but some heavy things. You've got heavy things that are coming. There's a country itching for a new kind of war with America. I want to do a talk about the coronavirus, and I want to do a talk, I'm not going to say conspiracy things, but I'm going to say some interesting things. I also want to talk about a country itching for a new kind of war against America. And I also want to do a talk with you, following what Donna releases, just a talk with you that I think will be substantial and powerful. Right through the screens, right for free, right for about 2020. But I got the numbers wrong. 7 years from that prophecy with the simple stone. And some of this has to do with taking down the financial giant, the giant of debt. 7 years from that prophecy would put you in the beginning of Donald Trump's 2nd term. I got that wrong in that video, and I want to make that very clear, because it turns out that might be a wee bit important. Some of the WikiLeaks stuff, and by the way, the WikiLeaks stuff, its largest supporters are generally Democrats, save for in this case, because they released some stuff against Hillary. But my point in that is that the Democrats, when I was growing up, right, and a lot of their supporters are, not to bring it up, African American, who get, kind of beat up on, or at least that was my perception, by the courts. And it sort of applies to all of us, everybody. But the Democrat Party was supposed to be the one sort of lifting up the pressures of this kind, when now it's the Republicans crying out, wait a second, too much is too much at some point. And we don't just prosecute people for nothing. And yet this party, and yes, we're praying for a pardon for Roger Stone, and we're praying for, actually, I wish that judge would just do the right thing. Why are judges over prosecuting people? There are other stories I could tell along those lines. But here's the long and short of it. Political stuff, you can go look at the thing, everything I've done prior to that video on Trump, that Trump prophecy video, which is now difficult to, I can even type my own name in with that video. And this happens with lots of Trump stuff I put up. Might even happen with this video here. I don't know. I'm praying for favor with this video I'm uploading now. With favor for you, the viewer on the other end. Because there seems to be, call it conspiracy or whatever, there seems to be some invisible set of claws on stuff with Trump's name on it, if it's supportive of him in any way. Just like the chains pulling someone like Roger Stone to the depths of a pit. We're praying for favor. Before any of this, I was making videos that made top atheists mad. We've made quite a few of the top name atheists very upset with us, but in classy ways. In classy ways. Our debates are some of the finest. Well, I lay that in your hands, but certainly the atheists looked very upset, and that can't always be a bad thing. We pray for Ben Carson on this side of the screen. We're very proud of that man. In fact, Ben, you're going to get one of these Joseph coins and a whole set of these. He seems like anything you touch in education. Not that these are a candidate for that, but I think these are things that might be right up your alley. And certainly, wouldn't that be wild if you saw those in schools one day? And I'm also going to send you, Ben, I'm going to send you, these are from Israel. These have the third temple on the back, the third temple on there. And they have Donald Trump and Cyrus, which was the flavor of that video I just put on the screen. It's hard to find. It'd be an honor for Donald Trump to have one of these. I'm going to send you some of them. Maybe you might be able to get him one, if you're able to get him even from me. That would be an honor. Even that on this end would be an honor. But more than all of that, God bless every single one of you that watches these videos. And I loved every one of the atheists that were very upset. And in truth, people that are that upset maybe the people that like your stuff the most, in all honesty. But they were all things on biblical topics. In fact, I got volumes of phone calls from people I really like, because a lot of them are Democrats. Some of them even were Republicans, which made my heart sink to where stating, you have just done, when I did that Trump video, which was based on prophecy from Kim Clement and biblical scriptures that I had. And I had people that were very close to me. Man, I was torn apart. They would call and say, you have just destroyed everything. You had millions of people listening to you on this other stuff. To me, that was never. I guess that was the thing. Part of the thing that affected me the most is when you would see people that all that they care about is a number on a and I realize that the world sees they see a number on a screen, or they see a movie store on a page, and it has some kind of an impact for them. I mean, they'll believe climate change if a top movie star says it. I just knew Kim said, this guy's going in. If Kim was wrong on that, how could I trust him on other stuff he had said to me that I'd held in my pocket since I was a stupid punk kid, and the Lord had pulled me out of my own mires and allowed me to attempt, that's what I would describe what we do now, attempt to tell people about the Lord in the best way we could. If the Lord had allowed me to do that, and then I were to dishonor over here, of what kind of honorable man am I in any way, shape, or form? If you can't get copies of these, write to us. I'll get them to you. Just write to us. I'll figure out what I can do. If you can't afford them, don't write us like that. And that doesn't mean a promise that look at God in a nutshell. It's not all about the numbers. It's always been the same thing today that it'll always be in the future. It's about loving the Lord. It's about what's on the top of this book. That word right there. That word right there. In Matthew 24, when the disciples go to Jesus and they say, Rabbi, Master, Teacher, tell us, when will these things be? What will be the sign of your coming? And I'm not stating we're there right now. Or the end of the age, the times leading to the end of the age. What will be the sign of these things? And what did Jesus reply in that entire passage in Matthew 24? The mother of all end-time passages. See that no man deceives you. So deception is the encapsulation, the signature of the end times is deception. Hours in which the truth is the most valuable thing any of us can have. And for the truth, and the truth isn't a set of my books, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh before the Father. And it doesn't matter what color they are or what land they came from. No man cometh before the Father except through me, Jesus Christ. I'm Trey Smith. God bless every single one of you, all of you. And the pre-flood one, which I'm putting a link to, if you're sitting at home, which you might be during the coming weeks, they might be forcing us all to sit at home. That's a fun one to watch. That is a first class. Okay. Your common theories tell you that in the beginning there was nothing, and then it exploded. The mud puddles came to life, and the monkeys bred their way to becoming people. If you'll believe all that, you'll believe anything. And if you'll believe all that, there is nothing in any of these materials that's a stretch. I'm Trey Smith. God bless every last one of you, save not one, and your families on the other side of the screen. Okay, I'm putting one more thing in this video. I felt like I went away, I had it closed up. I felt like I was supposed to do this. I'm putting some clips in this that are from the final broadcast that Kim Clement ever did. In fact, that's the title of the video that you would find on YouTube or wherever you might find it. And in that video is an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours long, I'm not sure. In fact, I think actually it's 1 hour and 11 minutes, which is interesting. In that, he does scarce prophecy in this particular tape. It was almost like he went out praising the Lord. He gave some other prophecies But this was his last public prophecy. And near the end of that, he stops in the music for just a couple of minutes, just a couple of short minutes, and gives one of the most, it would be buried in there, most people would never find it. I would bet out of all the views on that video, most people have never made it that far in to even see what I'm about to show you. Well, I ask you this, I ask you to listen to the words, listen to each word of what he says in this prophecy carefully. These are the last words that he would have for the people of earth while he was here. Here is that short set of clips. Each word, listen carefully to what he's telling you about the future.
Before we get to the 6-7 minutes of rejoicing, and I want you to do that because the Lord told me to do that. I mentioned that many churches today are crucified between two thieves: an erroneous false religious system with man-made laws and secular humanism. And you know what secular humanism is? We are in the beginning stages of a reformation. Now, people have, as I said, have laughed at me about this. And a recovery. And I'm talking about in the church. For what purpose? Apostolic Christianity. To recover apostolic Christianity, we need to return to the basics, the foundations of the first century church. And I want to say something. Somehow the church has skipped the simple in search of the sensational. And when I say sensational, I'm referring to the dynamics of spiritual revival and renewal. The fire of God, the signs, the wonders, the miracles. These are very important. But for our desire to have this so much, we have missed the foundations of basic Christian living. No structure, listen to me, no structure can excel the strength of its grounding. It cannot excel the strength of its foundation. Without revelation, the people perish. Without progressive revelation, the people para, which means to go backwards. I'm not about to go backwards. I'm only about to go forward. How many of you ready for that? I was the cool of the day in the Garden of Eden. I was the burning bush in the desert. I was the wilderness in Nahum, the prophet's vision. I was the voice in Bilam's donkey. I was the still small voice to Elijah. I am the revelation of Jesus. I am, not me, I'm speaking about that revelation. I was the rustling of leaves in the mulberry tree, forcing David to advance and to fight. I was the revelation when I wrote on the wall, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. When you wrote, Mene, Mene, your years are numbered, your days are time, they're over. I was the sword of Gideon and the Lord, the star that guided the wise men, the angel at Abraham's tent, the cleft in the rock. I was the revelation, and I am the revelation. The fire and the cloud at Sinai, and the tongue of fire on the day of Pentecost. I am that I am. I am the revelation of Jesus Christ. I tell you the story of love. I tell you the story of sorrow. I tell you the story that saves some and the story that destroys other. I am the revelation of Jesus Christ. I am close to the marriage altar, and when the grave opens, I stand nearby. I call the wanderer home. I rescue souls from the deep. I open the lips of lovers, and through me the dead whisper to the living. I serve one as I serve all. I am the revelation of Jesus. I open a vista to the universe, and after experiencing me, you will feel that there is meaning to life after all. I am the revelation of Jesus. Jesus, we never want you to stop speaking. Show yourself, reveal yourself. Wherever we may be, we will honor you. So we say welcome into this house, into our homes, and thank you for your blessing. Amen.
If you listen carefully, then you caught in that very last broadcast, his own death was prophesied right inside of those words, coming right after the church being persecuted between two thieves. All of our time is short here, and all of the things that we believe are so important, that look so important out there. The number one thing to me in all of this stuff that I do, whether you buy a book from me or a coin or anything like that, which we're thrilled when you do, we're thrilled when you make a donation. That's how we eat on this side. Make it to heaven. I'm Trey Smith of God in a Nutshell. God bless, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And I hope you share it with a friend. I hope you share it with a bunch of friends. I really do, on this particular one. God bless every last one of you, all of you, and your families. And I mean that every time I say it. In every one of, I said that since the beginning videos. And all of our stuff, I want you to notice that when you get anything from us, even on the videos, it says all glory, the Lord, somewhere on every single one of these, at the top, the bottom, we ask the Lord's blessing. I ask the Lord's blessing over this video and your life on the other side of this video. I'm Trey Smith. God bless every last one of you on the other side of the screen.